All right, good afternoon, algebra class, or good morning, depending on when you're watching this. This is Mr. Nancy. I wanted to do a week 1 review video, kind of go over some things that I asked you guys to work on this week, and hopefully help clarify some things that you had asked about. So week 1, this was week 1 for all of us teachers. A lot of us are testing different styles of online teaching. A lot of us are trying to figure out the right amount of work to assign, and there's a lot of things we have to learn as well. So thank you for being patient. Thank you for doing your best and going with the flow and giving your best as well. I appreciate your guys' suggestions on that exit ticket that you hopefully filled out by Friday. I appreciate knowing, what you're struggling with, what I can do to help you work through the assignments better, what you're still struggling with. That feedback is very helpful, so please don't be afraid to give honest feedback. A couple other things before we look at some of the problems I assigned from this week. Please make sure that you are doing your best. You might have some frustrations. You might have some struggles with some of the assignments I give you because obviously I'm not in class teaching you these assignments. That's a challenge that we're trying to work through in this time. So please do your best. You might need to look at the YouTube videos that I posted in Google Classroom. You might need to look at the example problems I posted there. You might need to recruit some help from, your parents or guardians, a sibling, a cousin, a friend who's already taken algebra class. You might need to use some resources to help you get better at these things. Remember, I'm a resource as well, and I had a couple of Zoom meetings this week, and I think they were very productive. Please don't be afraid to ask for help whenever you need it. The other thing I want to stress right now is that learning matters over, your report card grade. We'll see how the grading system goes for this 4th 9 weeks, but your learning is what matters. It's not like in school where I could post, here I can post an assignment, and if you wanted to be lazy, you could have an older friend who already took algebra class do every single problem, and you wouldn't have to do anything, and you could still get 100% on every assignment. That doesn't help you out, though. We're focused on you learning right now, you doing work, you getting better over the actual grade you would receive. Because like I said, you could do 100%, but if it's not your own work, if you're not the one who's putting forth the effort and getting better, we didn't really accomplish much at all. So please feel free to pause this video at any time if I move through it too quickly. From this week, we had a Monday, Tuesday assignment that was basically reviewing that last week or two of work we had before we were on online education. So I did not do the factoring and the GCF and the double bubble problems from Monday and Tuesday's assignment, but here in front of me, you can see the page 589, those 4 questions, which were the combination questions. So you can see my work to go through those. The answers are in the back of the book, but here's the work, here's the steps to work through those. Remember always to do a GCF first. You can see in 3 out of these 4 problems, there was a GCF that you needed to do first. Also in number 25, you can see there's 2 possible answers at the end. You guys are probably used to writing the first one, but in the back of the book on the answer key, the second one, that negative 4x and then parentheses x minus 3 all squared, that is shown in the back of the book. Either of those is acceptable. So now we're jumping into Wednesday's new material. The new material is on excluded values. The big picture with excluded values is you're never allowed to divide by 0 in anything you ever do in math. So when we're doing excluded value problems, all you care about is the denominator. Looking at number 3, we've got y equals 2 divided by x plus 3. All you care about is x plus 3. You want to find out what makes the denominator equal to 0. So what you do is you put x plus 3 equal to 0. Subtract 3 from both sides and you get x equals negative 3. Now, most of you could do that without a calculator or without showing your steps, and that's fine. All we need to come up with for number 3 is that the excluded value is negative 3. It's really similar in 5, and 29. Those ones are similar. Now 15, the original equation just has x on the bottom. So whenever you just have an x on the bottom, the answer is automatically, the excluded value is automatically 0. Finally, in 29, the denominator is 2x plus 1. Whenever that's the case, you might want to actually set that up and do the work, couple steps to solve, and you get the excluded value of x equals negative 1/2. Excluded values, this is a new concept, but don't make it tougher than it is. All we're doing is finding out what would make the denominator equal to 0 when we plug in the number we find. With those excluded value questions, I did post YouTube videos that show how to work through those. I posted some of my own example problems in Google Classroom and also used the book. This is page 878 in the book. Look at that example number 1 in the book. That shows you how to work through excluded values. Don't go beyond page 878 as far as looking at examples. That's not something you'll cover until Algebra 2. If we move on to section 12.3, this was the assignment I posted for Thursday and Friday. Guys, this is, I would say, the most challenging thing we've done all year. This has a lot to it. So it might take some time. You might not be an expert at it as soon as you give it a try. So I would look at page 886 and beyond on this simplifying rational expressions topic. Here's more excluded value examples on page 886. If you move over to page 887, this is there are a few examples here of simplifying rational expressions. I would look at those. I would look at the steps they take. I would look at the explanation off to the side. You have a lot of resources. The book is pretty useful as one of those main resources you should use. Look at this example 3 down at the bottom of page 887. Look at that. Also use, and I mentioned this in one of my Google Classroom posts, this example 4. This example 4 is going to be helpful for the more challenging ones in this section. So your book is very useful, guys. All right, let's take a look at now the assignment I posted for Thursday and Friday. That was page 890, numbers 5 to 21 odd. Again, feel free to pause this video as necessary, guys. Feel free to take a look at this for longer than I have it up on my screen if you need to. So number 5, we have 4a squared divided by 8a. We're trying to simplify that. That is kind of like an exponent question. 4/8 becomes 1/2. A squared divided by a, you can see I crossed some things out. A squared in the numerator and just an a to the first power in the denominator means that there's going to be no a's left in the denominator and that there is an a in the top. So it's 1a divided by 2. That's the simplified expression. Now, we also have to do excluded values. If you just look at the denominator for the final answer, the denominator in the final answer is 2, as you can see. It's just 2. There's no excluded values if you just saw a 2. That's why I always caution you to take the excluded value from the denominator before you cross anything out. So I'm looking at the 8a, and I'm setting 8a equal to 0. I'm solving for a, so I divide by 8. I get a cannot equal 0. The excluded value here is 0. Don't wait till the very end to look at the excluded value because you would not get this one right if you waited until after you cross things out. 7, there's no simplifying that happens. 2 divided by y plus 3, we can't simplify anything. It's a does not simplify, or you would just rewrite 2 divided by y plus 3. And the excluded value there is negative 3. 9, I do expect a little bit of uncertainty on number 9. In number 9, you cannot cross out 2h and the 2h on the bottom, 2h on the top and 2h on the bottom. You can't cross those out. The reason is the 2h in the denominator isn't being multiplied. Now, I took the GCF. Remember, we want to do GCF first. For the top, I took 2 times h, I just separated those. In the bottom, the GCF of those two terms is 2. So I have in the bottom 2 parentheses h plus 2. Now I can cancel out 2's. And I'm left with h divided by h plus 2. Again, don't cancel out the h with the h. I also want to find the excluded value. You can see how I do my work to find the excluded value of -2. All right, number 11. There's a b plus 4 on the top. We don't do anything with that, but on the bottom we want a double bubble. B squared plus 5b plus 4 double bubbles, as you can see. I cross out the same exact thing on the top and bottom, and I'm left with 1 divided by b plus 1. Now, don't wait until the very end to do your excluded values, because you would just look at this and say, oh, the excluded value is -1. And you're partially right. You got half of them right. You want to do the excluded value before you cross anything out. So that's why right here, when I have the b plus 4 and the b plus 1 in the denominator, I do the excluded values at that point, and there are 2 excluded values. Don't wait until the very end, because you won't get the -4 as the excluded value. So do the excluded value before you go into the crossing out step. Last one on this side of my page, number 13, real similar to the previous one. Double bubble the top, cancel out the things that are the exact same. You can see the final answer, and you can see the 2 excluded values. We're getting close to the end, guys. On the back of my page, number 15. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Just know that the top is a difference of squares, the bottom's a double bubble. You can see my work, my simplified expression answer, and my excluded values, both of them. Don't miss the j it cannot be equal to -5. There's 2 excluded values there. Remember, for excluded values, the numerator does not matter one bit. 17. This is one of those challenging types I mentioned. It's example 4A and B, page 888 in your textbook. For this one, on the top, I think you guys can see in number 17 how I just took the GCF of 2, and I've got n minus 8 inside parentheses. On the bottom, I want to put the bottom in standard form. I don't like it being in the order 64 minus n squared. I'm going to change that order. -n squared plus 64. Then I'm taking out a -1. I don't want that first term to be negative. So I take out a -1 so that the top remains 2 times parentheses n minus 8. The bottom, I bring out a -1. And you can double check by distributing, but I did it correctly. -1 parentheses n squared minus 64. Okay, now it's something that's more manageable, something we're more used to. Now the bottom changes to, we do the difference of squares to have -1, then n minus 8, then n plus 8. And now I can cancel things out. I cancel out the n minus 8 on the top with n minus 8 on the bottom. In my answer, I'll have n plus 8 on the bottom, and I can put this negative anywhere. This negative could go with the 2. This negative could just go out front. I like to put it in the numerator with the -2. There are 2 excluded values. Don't forget that. There are 2 excluded values. All right, 19, in the back of the book, they didn't have it listed, which I think is that they messed up real bad. So here's 19. Here's how you do it. You want to switch the order of the top, right? Make it -5r plus 10. We want to put it in standard form. The bottom is a pretty easy double bubble question. Then on the top, I take out the GCF, -5, and what's left over is r minus 2. Now, nothing cancels. I look at this point and I've factored everything. Nothing cancels. -5 doesn't cancel with anything. R minus 2 and R plus 2, they don't cancel out. So this is the final answer right here. The excluded values are 6 and -2. I have a feeling that the people who made the book just messed up, because typically with these problems something cancels out. I have a feeling they messed up because nothing canceled out and the answer wasn't in the back of the book. But there's 19. All right, 21. GCF the top, so it's 5 and then q minus 10 in parentheses. On the bottom, do what I did in 17. I take the negative q squared to the beginning, then plus 100. Then I bring out the -1. That's the GCF of the bottom. That lets the q squared be positive, and I've got minus 100. Then I want to do double bubble. Then my q minus 10 and q minus 10 cancel out. I've got a 5 on the top, a -1 on the bottom. 5 divided by -1 is, -5. And the q plus 10 stays on the bottom. And there are 2 excluded values. Do the excluded values before you cancel things out. Finally, one example in addition that I have down, I put c divided by c squared plus c. You would want to take the GCF of the bottom, which is obviously c. It's c, then parentheses c plus 1. On the top, I could cancel out the c, and I'd have a 1 left over. I would have 1 divided by c plus 1 for my answer, and I have 2 excluded values, as you can see there. So class, in conclusion, this kind of summarizes all of the problems that I assigned for week 1, besides some of those ones from Monday and Tuesday that were just review. So I'm hopeful that this helps you see how to work through the problems correctly, to find the correct answers on probably the most challenging topic we've done all year. In conclusion, here's the big takeaways. Make sure you're doing your work, okay? Make sure that you're giving your best effort. You can ask others for help. You can look at YouTube videos. You can look at the examples I've sent out, but do your own work. Please ask me whenever you have questions. Please ask me whenever you need help as you're going through this. Your learning matters over your grade that you receive. You guys are going to have fine grades this 9 weeks. That shouldn't be your concern. Your concern should be learning and becoming more confident with these topics. As far as the simplifying rational expressions topic goes, that's all we're doing for this week of April 6th. We're not moving on to new stuff. We're going to take our time with it. It takes some time. It takes some practice. So we will have that chance to get better. Please keep giving me feedback, emails or the end of the week exit tickets. And if you have an idea, let me know. If you have an idea for something that would be beneficial, I'd love to hear it. You are allowed to do extra practice. I'm trying to assign no more than 5 questions per day, but you can do extra practice if you want to. You've got tons of book problems. I would suggest doing the odd problems and checking in the back of the book and asking me questions on ones that you want to get right. As far as reading your feedback, I know I did a lot from the book this week. I might go back to doing more from my own worksheets. That might be better because the book just has the answers in the back and not the work. So we'll see. I might go to more of my own worksheets where I can send you guys answer keys with all the work shown. Excluded values. Remember to do those before you cross things out. Remember to not save that till the end because you'll mess up. And as far as the simplifying rational expressions goes, we'll have tons of practice on that this week. Finally, guys, do your best to stay, healthy and safe right now. If it's you and your parents and guardians and siblings all in the house together, it's probably more time than you typically spend with each other because you're not at school for 8 hours a day. Help out around the house. Be a good member of the household. Help your siblings with homework. Help your parents with chores. Try to be a pleasant person to be around, and that'll make everything better for everyone involved. All right, guys, I'm here for you. Just reach out to me through an email or by other means, and I'll do what I can. And let's have a good week. Let's do what we can to get better and to improve. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.